Let's get started. Tana. We're about 20 something lines in the bottom. The first one line is dummy. Tana. Yavish Pasel. Rav Yehuda Machshir. Amarava. What's this machlekes? Machlekes belulav. That what? The Rabbanan Savri Makshin on Lulav Lasrik. The Rabbanan hold. We already know the din of Hadar by an Esraik. So the Rabbanan hold the Lulav is the same thing. Which I think before we started this sugya, if we were to take a poll and say where is the din of Hadar, we would assume, I don't know, everywhere. And someone would say, but the pasuk says it by Esrik. So you would say it's the same thing. That's the Rabbanim. Ma Esrik by Hadar, Avlula by Hadar. Rav Yehuda Savar lo makshinan lulav la Esrik. We do not equate a lulav to Esrik. So that is the machlekes. Avol be Esroi. It says in the Gemara, it seems that when it comes to an esrog itself, Devrei HaKol, everyone is maskim, Hadar Binan. So the Gemara wants to prove, I get the mish. Everyone proves that be esrog you need Hadar. It's a machlekes about lulav. Step 1 of the day. Continues the Gemara. Uba lulav leipai. By a lulav, do you not need Hadar? We just said it's a machlekes. We said according to the Chachamim, you do not need Hadar. According to Rabbi Yehuda, you need Hadar. Says the Gemara, is that true? Ubelulav lebayi Rabbi Yehuda Hadar. Rabbi Yehuda does not hold of Hadar by a lulav. Vehatinan, but we learned in a Mishnah. Rabbi Yehuda Oimer Yagdanim Amala. Here it is, type number 2 of Igud of Rabbi Yehuda. Rabbi Yehuda says you got to bind it. My time. What's the reason according to Rabbi Yehuda? You have to bind your lulav. L'chayra, lam nisham debayi hadar. Isn't that because you need hadar? So asks the Gemara that seemingly Rabbi Yehuda holds you need hadar even by a lulav. Says the Gemara, loi kediktani taima. You know what the reason is? Rabbi Yehuda Aimer mishum of tarfin agizeras hakasav kapois timarim. What do we learn from that? Kapois. The imaya parud, that if it is parud, if it is not together, separated, yechaftanu, you should tie it together, period. So we had a kasha on Rav Yehuda, and the Gemara answers that has nothing to do with hadar. 6 years, a kasav of kapis. Frak the Gemara, v'loi bayi Rav Yehuda hadar. Does Rav Yehuda not hold of hadar? And again, v'loi bayi hadar. You only allowed to bind the lulav b'minoi with its own min. Different Rabbi Yehuda. My time. Why does Rabbi Yehuda require that your lulav has to be bound with its own min? Lam nishum debayi hadar, says the Gemara loi. Ta'amar Rava afilu b'siv afilu b'ikra detekla. Meaning, when it's min, something to do with being beautiful. You could use a sieve, you could use a twig, you could use a root, you could use anything. So it's not to do with being beautiful. That's just to do with the fact that it is the same min. I want to have a fifth. There you go. Says the Gemara. Elamai time with Yehuda. So what's the reason? If it's nothing to do with Hadar, says the Gemara, Hasam the Kasavar Lulav Sarach Eged. The Maisem Minachrina, as Rav Sroli just said so eloquently, Have Elohu. Chamisha minim. It's going to end up being 5 minim, which it cannot be, and that's the reason why Rabbi Yehuda says, but nothing to do with hadar. So 2 kashas.
With rubber band, that's not an issue.
Not a min.
No, I mean, but it's not. It's
No, you're 100% correct.
But it's
It's
definitely
correct.
not butter.
So the answer is
adding gold.
And what let's say? What do we say about gold?
Gold is mahadar.
Let's say underneath it. So that's l'chayra going to be the answer. That anyone that's going to have a rubber band, something like that, it's going to only be on top of or in addition
But
to.
can you even
a
go on
regular-
top of, because gold is in the hood.
Very good, very
This
good.
is definitely not butter.
So l'chayra, the answer is.
tighter so it doesn't
Yeah.
flap so much.
Chayra, the answer is that you're right. It's not more beautiful, but its functionality is such. That's l'chayra, but definitely an interesting nekuda. Says the Gemara Vayiter. Let's go 6 lines from the bottom. Uba Esrog. I'll keep on reading. The Ilam is eating. I love it, so I will keep on reading. Uba Esrog. Mi bayi Rav Yehuda hadar. So now we go into Esrog. Does Esrog Rav Yehuda not hold of hadar? Vatanya. Excuse me. Asking me, Ba'i Rav Yehuda Hadar. We just said that everyone is maskim by asking you need Hadar. Frakti Gemara, really? The Tanya we learned in a brayso, 5 lines in the bottom. Arabas Milan Shabalulav, the 4 meaning of a lulav kshein, just like Shein Paichasim, you cannot do less. In my sifin alayim, you cannot add on. Loy matzah, so you don't find an esroig. Loy yavi, you're not allowed to bring loy parish a quince. Loy rimoin a pomegranate. Loy davar acher. Kimushin, if they're withered. Ksherin. Yevishin psulim. Rav Yehuda Imer. Af Yevishin. Rav Yehuda allows even a dried out esrog, seemingly proving that what? There's no din of hadar. The Omer Rav Yehuda, I'll prove it with a story. They will give away their daled minim to their children. Responds the Gemara, don't bring me a raya from one-time story. Amr lehem misham raya in shazavcha raya. Period. But Katani miyos good. You don't have a raya. What do we see? Rav Yehuda Omer avyivishim is kasherim. Frakti Gemara zakti Gemara my level the esrog is someone an esrog. And then we have a kasha loy alulav. Amar Mark Shem Shem Samem Kachim Sivan Alayam. We just saw a moment ago, just like you can't do less than doesn't mean we can't do more. Pshita. Mao did Tema explains the more. What's the yes?
Maybe we were saying that over there that Yavish is kosher. Maybe that's also just shas al. Whether it be lulav or.
Oh, so what's the answer? The answer has to be good point. One is when you bring a story, you could for the story that was a unique situation. But if the Rav gets up and the Rav says Yavish is kosher,
You said Yavish is kosher before the story.
no, so that's the answer. Means the Gemara is saying don't from the story because the story is a shatzatchak. But Katani Mia says the Gemara, but we just saw that Rav Yehuda says the Yavish is kosher, which the Chayra shows us that he doesn't hold of Hadar. And that wasn't part of the story. That was a din. Now the truth is. The Gemara really could have persisted, and the Gemara could have said just because Rav Yehuda said it's kosher, maybe he only said it's kosher in this type of massive. But to that, the Gemara holds that if you give up sak, it's across the board. Amar Mar, here we go. It's very warm in here. No, is anyone else warm here?
It's much better tonight than other
It is warm, right?
Last night was like 73 in Arizona.
Okay,
night.
let's remember. Let's remember the garage.
It was also very hungry.
Yeah.
I was at the snowplow. 2 footballers are like, let's go back to this now.
Shame if one day it gets hot, all of a sudden everyone's complaining about the heat. 2 days ago, you're complaining about it's freezing. Now it's out. Okay, you didn't. Complainers. Amar Mar. Shame Frakti Mar Pshita. So Mao the thing, what's the Chiddush? Hoy of Amar Rav Yehuda Lulav Sarach Eged. As we saw, this is I think time number 3. And we saw Vimaisa Minachrina. And if you bring another min, so you would think that maybe it's not bound together. And if it's not bound together, it's not going to be a problem. Kamash Malan, that's still going to be called taking an extra min. Okay, Amar Mar.
The whole time.
Each one is by itself. It's not bound together. You need Rav Yehuda holds. You need to bind it. So if I hold my daled minim and then I hold an extra guy next to it, maybe according to Rav Yehuda I did nothing wrong because it's not bound together.
If you're not binding it, then what do you need the 5th thing?
No, that's cool for what the Gemara is saying. We quoted in a brayso. Amar Mar. We quoted a brayso that just like daled minim is the minimum, it's also the maximum. Says the Gemara asks Shita, that's pashit. What are you teaching me? Shtein in Torah daled minim. So explains the Gemara, you know what the chiddush is? You would think that according to that you need to be magi them, you need to bind them. Let's say you don't. Let's say you don't bind them, so maybe it's not called an extra min. Kamash one, it's still called.
Even if you don't bind it.
Good. Amar Mar. Loy matzah esroik. Loy yavi loy rimoin loy parish loy davar acher. Practically Gemara pshita. Come on, this is ridiculous. Oh, by the way, you can't have a pretzel instead of your esroik. Shkoyach. Like, well, what's the chiddush? Says the Gemara. Mao the tema. You know what I would have thought? Lazy. Bring a lemon. You should take a lemon. Why? Farfos. You don't want people to forget. No. Lazy means just to bring it. Yeah.
Something else in place of it, because one year
We got these notes.
No, you're good. You're good.
Did I miss a line?
You're good. You're good.
You did it.
You're good. Baruch Hashem.
Right on.
Says the Gemara. So you would think maybe you should bring it because you don't forget it. Kamash Malan. That why not? It's a fascinating teretz.
Yeah.
Not that there's anything inherently wrong. But Etzem inherently would be Gavaldik. In the Holocaust, you have nothing else. Yeah, Dad, tons around with a soda bottle as your lulav. But you know what? It's going to become a problem. To Asi lemisrach, people are going to think that's a minhag. And this is, if you need a riotous, this is all the brisker minhagim that are made up, right? Everyone knows, you know, all the gishmaka jokes with the broom. You have to sweep your room before Shia, there's a rub, and all the brisker jokes. And this is what it comes from. People are going to follow the Rebbe.
Okay. Actually, interesting because the Gemara is using the logic of the kasha into the teretz. Kasha is that you would think I would bring it because let's say 1 year I don't have a esrig and I don't bring anything, I'll forget to bring it the next year.
Good.
I do have an esrig. So the Gemara takes that same answer and says,
Which really just shows us that even, which is, this is really where the Chachmas Satira comes in, that even in a Shasat Chak, you always have to weigh the two halves. You always have to weigh the two halves.
more likely that people will then go all the way off
Correct.
using an esrig,
Correct.
then you're not going to find an
Correct. That's what you need to always.
esrig. A Jew always finds an esrig.
Tashima. Esrog Ayashan, an old Esrog puzzle. Rav Yehuda Machshir. Yehuda hold its kasha. Tiyufta derava, tiyuftas. That's it. That's a kasha.
Amazing.
Because we
It's like-
see straight a brisa that says Esrog Ayashan is puzzle. And we just said a moment ago, everyone hold, and Rav Yehuda says it's kosher. We said everyone holds it needs to be a hadar. Clearly, Rav Yehuda holds it doesn't have to be a hadar. V'loi frakti gemara tiyufta derava tiyufta. Really? V'loi ba hadar? Vanantanan, but we learned in the Mishnah Yerki Karti if it's green. Rav Yehuda Machshav, Rav Yehuda Pais also clear. Rav Yehuda holds that a green esrog is not hadar. We see it also the hadar. Yeah. So yeah, good. Yeah, that's a very good kasha. It's very kasha. Usually in a normal sequence of Gemara, it would bring all the questions and then it would end with a knockout punch. Here it doesn't. Very good question. Says Gemara, La misham debai hadar, Loi misham deloi gemar peri. It's not a complete peri.
It's not ripened yet.
It's not ripened.
So it's not a green esrig as in a fully green esrig. It's green because it didn't get yellow yet.
Yeah, okay, yeah.
And therefore it doesn't have the same
You could have a
Correct.
green esrig.
No,
that's
therefore,
just
very good.
green and
It doesn't have the same esrig. I think that's the longest. Meaning it's not pshat. It is an esrig, it's just not beautiful. It's not an esrig
it's
pasha.
not ripe yet.
Good.
But you could have a green esrig that's ripe. Right?
Yeah,
There are green.
yeah, that just depends on what's called green. But yeah. Yeah.
Right.
So now Tashima. Yeah.
But meaning it's gonna.
But again,
stay that.
York
It's not gonna be-
Karti-
if it becomes yellow, then it's.
No, but also Yorki Karti is like a green. Anyone who has a green asteroid, it's green, but you see yellow in it. It's like a
Right.
yeah, exactly. Tashima Nacharayo. Shir asteroid got caught on. What's the size of a small asteroid? Ramir Reimer Kago, Javidam Kibeyo. Lavni Sham, Defy Hodder. If he holds has to be a bear, except not a bear, it's not a Hodder. Law and Misham Dol Gemar period. By the Chaira Ramanacham, this is the answer to your Kasha. Why did we bring down all these things after the Tzifta? Because these are one theme of questions. They're all going to have the same teretz. That's not the Gemara. So you're right. We probably could have brought these down all before the Tzifta, but we brought them on afterwards. That's like its own like subcategory of kashas with terutzim. But it's still like your question, by the way.
We already know that we're not going to answer it.
Yeah.
We already know that it's going to be a
Yeah. Tashima Bagadol. What's the largest item in Esek? You have the achas two in one hand. If you're Rabbi Yehuda, Rabbi Yosef, if you lachal v'shtei yad. My time. Allow me to the other. Loy. Kibbutz Amarava Lulav HaGazul. This is one of the greatest terutzim. You know why? Why can't you have such a big esrog? Because a practical reason. Zokter Abba, your lulav is in your right. Your esrog is bit small. And what's going to happen? Zim and the machliu, and then you have to switch them up. And what's going to happen? So because of that, it's fascinating. So you can't bring it too big because you're going to mess it up. Well, Rabbi Yehuda, Yoksiv Hadar, Umetar Bilana Vishon Lashana. Absolutely fascinating. And from here we learn the beauty of Torah. Pasuk says Hadar. Says if you don't know, it doesn't have to be Hadar. It doesn't have to be Hadar. Oh, it means Hadar. Let's stop here. Yeah.
On the esrog. That's not out the size of the esrog. You're saying that when a person has the esrog in the right and the lulav on the left, there's going to be a time.
And because of that, they need a cap on how big it has to be.
Right. It's
Good.
be too big when you'd be switching it.
Okay, Chaver, two things. Over Shabbos, let's get to the next Mishnah, Lam Beis and Beis. Let's do the Chazarah of these two blot plus one blot. Pretty sure that these are pretty easy for most people. Let's get to Lam Beis and Beis over Shabbos. The link went out. Let's check off the boxes.